Okay, we are live again. This time it will actually work. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Joys of technology. Great. And this is going to be a little experiment we're going to conduct tonight. I've never taught this before. And I may never teach this again because it may not work. But my hunch is it's a very powerful thing and it can do a lot of good. I've had a very challenging year, and out of many challenging things usually come a lot of blessings. And one of the blessings of this year was what I'm going to teach you. I was taught this by a tzaddik as an insight to a mechanism that I needed help with, which was so embedded in my consciousness, the challenge, that I never even realized it was there to help. If I would have seen the challenge, I perhaps would have worked on a tool to solve it. But I was blessed that a tzaddik saw the challenge, and the tzaddik pointed out and taught me this technique. So it's very, very powerful. It definitely changed my life. And I want to teach it to everybody tonight. And say hi if you're out there in the world, where you're from, so we can see who's there. I use this word empath. Now, I'm a rabbi and I've never seen the word empath in any Kabbalistic or Hasidic text. Perhaps it's from most of the sources, I don't know, a medrash somewhere. But it's interesting, when I put the word empath online, I'd seen around, there was such a huge response, like hundreds of people said, help me with this, please. I'm interested, do people relate to that word? Hands up if you relate to that word yourself, like that was okay. So I'm interested to know how you define this. I think this is the kind of word that was probably born on Facebook somewhere, some post, some article was written about it. How do you define empath? Do people have a pen and paper? Not all. I wonder if you could just write, if you define yourself as an empath, and you friends online, there's a lot of people watching online, you can fill this in the box and then press send if you're brave enough. What are three wonderful things, benefits, so to speak, that you associate with being an empath? And what are three challenges that you associate with being an empath? Now, I don't think this tool is necessarily for empaths. I think this tool is necessary for human beings. But my guess is, my hunch is, even though I'm still learning a little about what this word means, my guess is that this would be a lifesaver for empaths, and just nice for the rest of the human race. So I wonder if you could take a moment just to write, when you use this word empath, what are the three skills or talents or gifts you think are connected to you having that, to you being that? And what are three, let's say three, for example, challenges that you find as a result of that? I wonder if you could take a moment to write that now. And if your friends online, you can just enter that into the box. We can see that, we can read that. This is just some research I'm doing for my own understanding of this word. So Avi says getting people very quickly. That's already one that's coming in. Miriam's from Beitar. Let's see this right now. Lon says telekinesis. That could be defined as Ruach HaKodesh Ma'at. Rachel Cana, it's a friend of yours, right? She says highly sensitive, is moving a little too fast to see. So who can yell out, what are some of the positives of this definition? What would you say? Yes?
I read once that empathy is the ability to feel what another person feels.
The ability to feel what another person feels. Hands up if that rings true for you. Okay, we have psychologists agreeing over there, so fine. What else did people write for that? Yes?
The ability to connect or share in a moment on a deeper level.
Connect and share a moment at a deeper level. What else would we say?
It's a communication that comes not through the verbal, but through the subconscious.
Through non-verbal subconscious connection.
Communication.
Right? I think we relate to that. In my own Avodas Hashem, I always choose to not use the word subconscious, because I think it's very interesting from a Torah perspective to understand what that is. If it serves you, you should use it. But it's always interesting to say, if I don't use that word, how would I use it? Which is the terminology our sages would use to define that? And that opens up a whole world of insights and techniques, but that's another time. You do EFT, is that what you do? Wonderful. It's a very powerful tool and very helpful to people. Anyone else care to share? Positives? Yes, Dessa? Compassion. Hands up if these resonate with you in general. Okay, did we leave anything key off the list that you need to say? A good listener, right? Nina here is saying intuitive. Okay, so some of these are intuitive. You got that? Great. Challenges. What are some of the challenges you associate with being an empath? Collecting others' energies. It sounds like a very pretty thing. You put it in a basket. You have a. Sounds like a very nice thing. You have a nice collection. Some people collect spoons, right? So hands up if you have like collecting people's energies or being burdened by people's energy. What's that? Absorbing other people's energies. Yes. Right. You can expand beyond yourself, so to speak, and interconnect to others. What do people add for negatives? Draining. Depletion. Hands up if you put depletion. Right. So I think for myself, the constant burden of other people's energies, the constant physical, emotional depletion, the need to just like, after working with people and helping people to basically run away. Hands up if you have that feeling of just wanting to run away. I remember the first time I fully gave myself at these kind of outreach camps in Australia, and these camps for like 5 days, and you were 18, 19 years old. I poured my heart and soul, and it was so powerful and so beautiful and so high, and it was a huge, they all got on the bus to went home, and I walked out into a forest, and I didn't stop walking for 2 hours. And I just like stood in the forest, kind of like trying to suck up the energy from the trees or anything else. I was just depleted. That was last week. It was a tough week. That was a few years ago, but I remember feeling that feeling. It was always interesting. I could never quite gauge, like when I teach seminars with hundreds of people, I come out feeling energized. But when I do one-on-one work for many years, I always felt like there's a certain place I was teaching at a certain time where when I would come home, not from the class but the one-on-ones, I would literally lie down on the couch and I couldn't move my body at all. And I tried to say to my wife, it's not physical tiredness. Right? What does it mean to be emotionally depleted? It doesn't actually make sense, and it's something that needs to be discussed. Emotions get stimulated, emotions go down. I'm excited, I'm not excited. I'm angry, I'm not excited. I'm loving, I'm not loving. But where is this depletion coming from? It's not truly an emotional thing. And this is the basis of, the only reference points we have for this in modern society. Even psychology does not directly deal with this. In a fulfilling way. It's really new age stuff that talks about energy, that talks about the push and pull of energy, which is very weird. Now, it's very weird because Hasidus is full of this stuff, and the Zohar is full of this stuff about what it is, how it works, and not only is it just depleting, about how you're supposed to use it positively and how you're supposed to protect it positively. And there's words for this, and it's amazing to me that religious Jews, even Hasidic religious Jews, do not know the terminology, even though they're learning it all the time. And it's very clear and very explicit. So part of what I'm going to teach you today is the terminology, and to show you a key exercise to shift it, okay? And I think your husband's on the line too. You want to say hi to him? No? It's okay, hi. Your wife says hi. She says she'll be home a little late tonight because the cat started late again. She's very surprised and disappointed that happened. Okay. Thank you for watching the kids. Get offline and go watch the kids. Max. So, fine. Any other words of the dark side, so to speak, of being an empath?
I think there's a whole massive area of empath that's boundary work. Just like, where do I end and you begin, and not only emotional boundaries, but just goes into who gets the right in the moment. That's
the right in the movement.
The right in the moment.
In any given moment.
In any given moment, who fills that space when you're always feeling someone else's energy? So
right.
How much, yeah. If you can
I think that boundary work. I think I was deeply suffering from that in my teens. I think high school was a miserable, dark place because I had a friend that I coined with. I had a term that I coined with my friends. I don't know if it makes sense now, but going under. And I found that when I was around social environments, I would completely go underneath this kind of wall of voices about who am I and what are they thinking about me, and who am I in what they're thinking about me. And I kind of got lost in this inner world, and I couldn't control it. I felt stuck in there. And it took me a long time to realize that was part of the empathic nature was I was hyper tuned into other people's sensitivities, and I could read what they were perceiving about me, and that itself would crash what we call today my das, my sense of self as distinct from that. And so there's a lot of things of where, because I'm tuning into other people, it impinges on my own thought capacity, my own self-awareness, my own inner stillness, because I'm also dealing with acute awareness of, the self-awareness and perception of self, which can trigger the ego. So I would find I would constantly go down, under, and fall into that. And it took me years. No one taught me this when I was 17, but it took me years to realize just how to. I didn't realize what I was fighting, but my gifts, as this firm always said, we always say in the elevation teachings, that our greatest strength is always a hint to our greatest weakness, and our greatest weakness is always a hint to our greatest strength, because those things are bound together and cause each other. Yes.
It's very much like a competition for me to be here tonight, because I said it's such a competition for me to be
Right.
here tonight, because I have this very intense question, what is not Abelun, but that is long because I'm wondering, like, as a Jewish people, it says, אנחנו ערבים זה לזה, מבולגן, one of another.
We're responsible for each other. We care, right?
So like naturally we have this feeling, even if we're not naturally empathic, and we certainly go into each other's neshamot, and we kind of like, I think this idea of being very individual and separate.
Right. So I think this is I think that's almost the empathic interpretation of the idea that Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Lezeh, that we are all responsible and bound and mixed and blended together. But I don't think our sages are saying we should be so psychologically blended with each other we lose our identity. I don't think you're saying that, obviously.
No, I'm not saying this.
Right.
I was wondering where exactly, from a Jewish and Hasidic point of view, is, and not from a Western.
Yes.
There is a lot of this is the boundary. Because, for example, with Kucholim, I was very challenged with Kucholim lately.
Right.
I'm very good friend in Tikkun Rats, and I just couldn't go there today.
Right.
I really couldn't. But it's a mitzvah, and it says, like, if you do Kucholim, then you absorb, one of the.
Right, some of the suffering, some of the pain.
Suffering, and this is why you should go, because that's why it's to be.
Right. So again, all of halacha is based on the assumption that you are emotionally healthy doing any of the mitzvahs. Like there's a line we say, a rule of elevation is always you have to be healthy before you can be holy. Right? So if doing any mitzvah will so deplete you or pain you or frustrate you, right, through doing it, then there's a question whether you're obligated to do it at that moment. Okay, especially something like Bikkur Chalim, to visit the sick, which is not necessarily a mitzvah that is incumbent upon you at all times. It's just if you're able to do it, right? And all things being equal, psychologically, emotionally, physically, logistically. There are many hospitals right now with sick people, but not every tzaddik is constantly in a hospital healing people, because we have obligations to take care of ourselves and our family and other things as well. The question is, where does our responsibility begin? When I was, Janine, I saw your question about the Jewish source of, that means our connection, our strengths are bound in our weakness bound in our strength. So it's got to do with all the sources of something called Das Elyon and Keta, which is the source of all our strengths in general and the source of our tikkun. So that's a little Kabbalistic to get to. You'll take my word for it now, and we'll come back to it shortly. What's that? How do you connect that together?
The exact rock that the workers couldn't figure out where it fits.
Right.
That
becomes the cornerstone.
So that's that thing that, like, you're trying to, that's your weakness.
So Rivka Malka is bringing the idea. It's a drush. It's a beautiful drush. That there's a line that the cornerstone, the stone that the workers couldn't work out what to do with. It usually means the thing that is hated or despised itself becomes the center stone, that which is given honor and the central point for making the building out of. That's a beautiful.
Is that a little different than what you're trying to say?
No, that's exactly the idea, but I don't know if you could say that's pshat in the line. That's a beautiful way to explain that line. So I'm happy to explore that in depth, but for now I want to focus on it. One of the things I was afraid of when I was showing this to one person recently, when I'm going to show you this technique tonight, one of the things I was afraid of, I'm going to show you a way to energetically disconnect to people and energetically, simultaneously reconnect to your higher self. And that plays a game changer in many things that we do automatically, unconsciously, that deplete us and frustrate us and blend us and don't allow us to have personal boundaries. But when I was telling one person about that I know is very talented, she said something straight away, and I realized it's wrong what she said, but we all definitely assumed that to be right. She said, but if you teach me how to do that, I'm going to lose my gift to empathize with people. I'm going to lose my magical insight in guiding people. And the answer is, it's totally untrue. You do not need to emotionally connect with someone to the point where you lose yourself to have deep insight to help them, nor do you have to give yourself so much and be so emotionally connected to them to let them feel empathy and cared for. And and even though that may go intuitively, I know that when I sit with a person to help them, I give my entire consciousness to them. I'm totally absorbed with them, and through that, supernatural knowledge comes to me. I don't think I'm the only one that does it. You know, when you're helping someone as a therapist, or as a rabbi or a caring, sensitive person, when you have that deep gift to help someone, that incredible insight comes to you. Sometimes I say things that are so deep and profound, when the person walks out, I go, well, I'm a prophet. I must be, right? It's not an ego thing. It's because, what I said was so insightful, but I didn't think of that. I don't know where that came from. I didn't know that information about them. Where does that come from? So I've always felt it comes from the deep caring and the deep resonance you have, and that is the part of the Kabbalistic model of Ruach HaKodesh, to bring in information, to draw that down. It is a deep resonance. It is connected to the prophetic ability. It's connected to the capacity for Ruach HaKodesh. That when you deeply emotionally resonate with the Torah you're learning, right, that is when you draw down Ruach HaKodesh. And when you deeply resonate with love of Yidden or the world, then you deeply draw down insight or an idea to help them, or a new project idea or something. The more you care, the more you draw down. And therefore, no, I can't break that spell. I can't break that magic. I don't want to mess with the empathic magic because I don't want to risk not getting that. So I want to tell you firsthand, not only does it actually, this may go, shh, please be quiet upstairs, Yidden. Thank you for, Snezalman, please don't clean it up now. I really appreciate you trying to clean it up. Just leave it right there, my sweet boy. Thank you. What I want to teach you is, by disconnecting that resonance, you will find your sense of self remains strong in that moment, and your capacity to help them remain strong in that moment, and counterintuitively your intuition becomes strong at that moment. And I want you to trust me, and I want you to play with that. So what I found is the tool that I was taught by the tzaddik massively increased my energy, that I no longer got depleted with helping people. I no longer felt I had to emotionally blend with people, right? And I felt that counterintuitively, my insight became stronger because I became a stronger, clear, stronger vessel to hold space for that. Questions? See, some things are happening online. I was saying the sensitivity yields insight into things, not just people, like philosophy. Absolutely, I totally agree with you there, Ari. Any questions, anything else we're saying so far?
No, I totally agree with you, because when you get yourself out of the way,
right,
then you're not in the process out of you, you're in the process of just...
When you get yourself out of the way, then there's more of a vessel to receive. But what I'm saying right now is, absolutely, we're agreeing on that, but now I'm doing something counterintuitive. I used to think the more I resonate with that person, I'm getting myself out of the way. So now I'm saying, no, the resonating with the person is not getting you out of the way. Because you're feeling a tremendous amount and it's draining you, and you're in that place. I don't feel like I'm drained. I usually feel like I'm energized when I'm in that place. It's when they leave and I feel like that. Okay? So what I'm going to show you is a different approach. Now, yes, Hilla?
Can you also help on a physical level? And I did a massage therapy course a while back, and when you're working on people, often if they're sick or they've got a headache, then sometimes it can transfer to the person who's giving that massage. So I'm wondering if this has anything to do with it.
Yes, I mean, when people come and talk about aches and pains, I know that I feel those aches and pains. I think good therapists have experienced that before. Ellie, I see you're writing interesting stuff that's moving so fast on my little screen. It's gone before I can even see it, but hopefully the audience will listen and share that with you. So the question is to be so... I hate using the word mindful, and mindful is not the right word here. It's to be so aware of what your koiches and nefesh are. What are my koiches and nefesh? What are all the elements of my consciousness involved in any interaction? What are the terms of it? In the Elevation Mastery Program online, which you know you've been through a lot of it. We always begin by teaching what are the 7, 8 elements of consciousness at play in any given moment, because then you can always be fully in control in a healthy way of what's going on within you. Why am I feeling in my body what that other person is feeling in real time? Right, and that has a healing benefit, and it can also be there's many healers that become sick after a while because of that. So this is my statement to you all. Number one, I want to teach you a technique which I found to be extraordinarily helpful with this issue. Number two, I've only ever done this on myself, and I don't quite know if it's teachable. Number three, therefore the experiment we're going to conduct together is, I see the people in this room and the people online are very high quality people, meaning we're involved with caring for people, we're involved with projects, we write, we talk, we speak, we do these kind of wonderful things. So I want to work together for a month after this session, and maybe we'll start a face group, discussion group, if someone knows how to do that and they could moderate that for us. We'll invite everybody into it. Everyone can say, yes, you'd like to be invited to this Facebook discussion forum. And what I want you to do is I want you to keep practicing this, and I will be there to continue the discussion and guide you through it to see if you can crack it. Because when it was given to me, the second it was given to me, it was a very challenging few months of my life, and I needed this for survival literally every minute of my life. And I literally used it 50, 100 times a day for a few weeks. So it went straight in. There's one other person I try to teach, and they're kind of like, well, that's an interesting idea. But then to actually apply it, it's one thing to learn a skill. It's another thing to apply it like your life depends on it. And it's only then you get to refine and become good at it, and then you see the result. So in this little room for the next 90 minutes, I can teach you the technique, and I can encourage you to give it a go. But like all things, we need a chabura, we need chizik to keep with the practice and practice it. Now, if the group decides at the end it does not work and not successful, then I apologize. I'll give you 15 shekel back or whatever, right? My guess is it does work because it's based on so many foundations in halacha and so many foundations in Hasidus. And the basic foundations are the following thing. It's something called his kalalis for his kashrus. As the Baal Shem Tov says, B'chol makam she'adam mechashev sham hu. You are wherever your thoughts are. And all of Hasidus and all of Kabbalah are about this idea that this world is just the physical world called Asiya, and there's a world called Yetzirah, and above that world called Bria, and all of those are just more tangible, separate worlds, and then above that there's the unified world called Atzilus, of incredible spiritual energy. Above that is the Or Ein Sof. And all of Kabbalah is based on the idea is if you put your mind in those worlds, through your intent, through your kavana, you can actually shift the causal reality. You can shift the energetic systems of that world just with your intent, just with your kavana, which affects the physical world. The concept of the law of attraction, which is called from the Zohar's times on, Rav Nachman writes about extensively, all this from, is called the koyach hamoshech, the power of drawing. And they all say, Rav Nachman says it's one of the 10 commandments. That's not today's discussion, but one of the 10 commandments is the law of attraction and the effects and the risks and dangers of it. You can work out which one that is. Rav Nachman's very clear on it. The koyach hamoshech is the idea that where you put your intent on, where you put your mind on, you physically affect that thing and the energy of that thing. All of prayer, especially in the time of Rosh Hashanah, on Thursday night we're doing our Rosh Hashanah meditations, and I'll teach you how this is core of the prayers on Rosh Hashanah itself, is that by fixing our attention of the nations of the world, by fixing our attention of the Yetzer Hara, by fixing our attention of the shofar, not the physical shofar, but the world, the higher world, which is called shofar, which is a world called Bina, and the world of Atzilus, then we actually draw energy to and from that. There are many things a person's not supposed to look at. If you see two animals mating on the street, you're not supposed to look at it because his staklis creates his kashrus. That is in many Hasidic and Kabbalistic writings, where his staklis means looking, gazing at something, creates energetic connection, which draws on the energy that is within that thing. His staklis, looking and gazing with a fixed intent, creates a bonding which creates an energy, his kashrus, which draws that thing to you. Therefore, you're supposed to look at tzaddikim. You're supposed to look at people in elevated, high conscious states, which draws healing consciousness to you. And you're not supposed to, Rav Nachman, the Baal Shem Tov, many sources talk about never ever look at a Rasha, a highly destructive, self-destructive individual, never look them in the eyes. because then you fix your intent on them and you draw the negative energy into you. Like I've been taught by Tzaddikim, like there's certain rituals to do after you're dealing with someone. You hold their pain, and you're supposed to wash your hands, and you need to cleanse yourself from that. So this is all a part of our tradition, especially something called Hakara and Hagasha, which empaths are really good at and is possibly our defining feature, which is something the Rebbe Rashab discusses in other Hasidic texts. It's the capacity that when we look at something, we don't analyze it intellectually. It's not some intellectual breakdown or knowledge. That's what you were saying. We resonate it with, it is not even emotional. It's something called da'as. It's a felt sense of something, a resonating of emotional. It's not emotional as in I'm emotionally excited, but I feel that thing. I sense that thing. And when that hits the panemius of the lave, which is called das, that creates a resonance that goes up to what's called keta. Keta is the makif, the aura around us, which then draws down. It draws Ruach HaKodesh, it draws divine insight. But what we're doing is we're binding with the energy of that thing. And the number one thing we're supposed to bind our energy with is Hashem. And that's called the Vase. And people that work with other people must learn, it's so important, they must learn how to constantly maintain their binding of the consciousness with the energy of Hashem, so that they are influxing, drawing down energy from Hashem, which is informing, which you're pouring into the individual you're working with, and not, God forbid, like most of us do, because become so energetically bonded with that person that we're pouring our consciousness into that person till we are left depleted. And what we often do at the same time is draw out of them energy, which depletes them, and can leave us feeling like we're carrying that burden as well. You're hearing what I'm saying? Yes. Histaklis means to look, creates his kashrut. Kesha. And there's another word, his kalalis, his kashrus, which means that when you connect to something, you become included in the consciousness of that thing. One is called his kalalut, as in klal, to become reflected, to be included. That means that's called what we call blended. You become blended in your consciousness. Now this is what the Kabbalists and the Hasidic masters use to shift your consciousness, to help you. I'm going to bind my consciousness with your consciousness, and therefore these are techniques you can use. And therefore through that, I'm now going to shift your consciousness. I'm going to bring you blessing. I'm going to do, the mystics taught that I can do tshuva for your sins. That's what we do on Yom Kippur. We say in plural, Ashanu Meganu Gazalnu, right? Because I become bound with the Jewish people, I become bound with all the people in the world, and therefore I do tshuva, and I energetically bond with them, and I can release them from their psychic burdens, if you will. So do you see, I can go on for hours and hours. The class of the Elevation Project where I talk about this, but I just want to show you how this idea of energetic bonding and influencing for the positive and negative is all the way through halacha. This is the basic idea of prayer. You ask for somebody's name because the name is the root energetic energy of them in Hebrew. And when you say their name, you're supposed to bond with them, and then you pray, and your consciousness now bond with their consciousness, and therefore you can influence them. So is everybody seeing? You guys getting this online? This is a normative part of being Jewish in Shulchan Aruch, in the Talmud, and especially in Chassidus and Kabbalah, when they want to talk about this and they want to tell you the benefits and the obligations, but also the risks of that. There's a lot in the mitzvah Bikor Cholim. That's not just to hear someone sick, but to go into the room, because that creates you can see them, and that's what releases them. You're seeing them and energetically connecting to them. As long as you maintain your connection to above, is what releases them of their energy. So that's part of the mitzvah of visiting the sick. It's an energetic transference that you can release. But it's all based on the assumption that you know how to maintain your higher connection when you're trying to engage with someone who's stuck in a lower place. And I was never taught that in school. I don't know which school you went to. Which high school, religious, secular. Questions?
Is empathy a function of Das?
Empathy is a function of Das. In the Elevation Level 1, in the Mastery Program online, Elevation.global, you'll see it there. We do a whole session on empathy.
Because I was thinking that poetic definitions that were given initially sounding more like introverts than extroverts.
So,
But then you'd be excluding extroverts from Das, which can't be possible.
no, but introverts are more likely to be able to connect it to their inner world. Extroverts are more likely to be out in the world and engaging, and therefore less likely automatically to engage in that inner place. But they all have it and they all need to use it. Yes?
Maybe this is a strange question.
I'm just going to make one more question. When you ask questions, there's a lot of people watching online, so just please ask as loud as you can. They're still not going to be able to hear you in this room, but at least we can pretend that they could then. Yes, Rina Bracha.
I think this is a strange question, but
Yes.
Can you, like, is it possible to use whatever it is that you're about to teach us on yourself? Because I feel like I empathize often with my Sahara. So, like,
You empathize with the Yetzer Hara.
Yeah.
I mean,
My
that's
own
how
Yetzer
we
Hara.
fall for Nefesh Bahamas.
Right.
The Nefesh Bahamas constantly says, empathize with me, see my perspective, let me make it so compelling to you. That we only ever act on Yetzer Hara because it convinces us that it's the right thing to do in a moment. The Yetzer Hara came to you and said, this is a terrible, destructive thing to do, you should do it, we would never do it. So, yes, what I'm basically teaching you is a mechanism of Das and a mechanism of Dveikus. So, I use this all the time to deal with my Yetzer Hara. Not that I have Yetzer Hara, I'm ecstatic and perfect, but if I did, then I would definitely use this all the time. So absolutely, you can and should use this all the time in many different dimensions. I'm using it right now as I'm speaking to you. And by the end of the class, when you hear what I'm doing, you'll find it really insulting and funny, okay? So we'll get to that shortly. Now, so the first, yes, Hadassah.
It can be understand it fully, but if the ideal is to use like Hashem's, like to ask for like Hashem's guidance, like when we're interacting with somebody else,
Right.
wouldn't that?
I didn't say you should ask for Hashem's guidance, no.
So okay.
You should ask for Hashem's guidance, but that's not this class.
Okay.
I'm going to just teach you how to non-intellectually plug into Hashem and more powerfully disconnect energetically from that person. When I tell you what it is, it's so obvious, it's almost silly.
Okay,
Yes, therefore.
So therefore, wouldn't that sort of be contradicting the idea of Istakut, meaning that we should be able to deal with like any situation by
You can deal with any situation because it's not where you are physically. You are more where you are in your consciousness than wherever you are in your body. Being in front of that person does not really make you in front of that person if your consciousness is really fixed on Hashem, or if your consciousness is fixed on a tzaddik, or your consciousness is fixed on your source soul. Therefore, that person can be in front of you, pouring this negative energy out into the room, and you're totally unaffected by it because it's where your consciousness is. So that's when I want to show you a way of how to totally get it off that person in a way that then you can just help that person without drawing from them. Now, so here's my first statement. My first statement, my friends, this is an experiment. This is called Hislamdus. We're going to explore this together. Who's interested in a month of explanations after this class to see if it actually works? Hands up. Give me a love online if you're willing to do that. And I need a volunteer that can set up a Facebook group and help moderate that so we can all interact and test it out together. And I give my word, with all the other things happening in my life, I will be present to answer questions and to keep everyone going. Because it's not enough to teach a technique, you have to have the will to try it and experiment with it in different scenarios and to make it work. Tonight what I'm going to show you is two elements. First I'm going to give you, that's a lot of love, thank you. Lots of popping hearts or something. I'm going to show you two things. First I need to show you the technique. The technique will literally take you 10 seconds to learn. Right? But I need to show you something before the technique because the technique is based on your capacity to know how to plug into divine energy and draw it into you in a second. And to do it so fast and effortlessly that you can do it when someone is telling you their problems in front of you. That means you can't stop and say, wait 1 second, I have to do this Doniel Katz thing that he taught me the other day. Right? You don't have the time to do that. You have to do it super fast without showing anything external. So first I'm going to give you an experience of how to just draw in from high energy and willfully increase that, okay? Which is itself a lot of stuff we do in Elevation 2 and Elevation 3. and the curriculum of how to do that in depth. But tonight I just want to give you a 30-minute introduction to that experience, so you can tangibly feel when your mind is drawing in from a higher place, and you can feel some of what we call chias or shefa. These are the words chias. It's called chias. That life energy. Energy is called chias. Rav Nachman says, Tefillah le'el chayai. As we talk about in Elevation 1, the prayer that I pray to, the line from Tehillim is Tefillah le'el chayai, which literally translates as, I pray to the God of my life. I pray to God who gives me life. Right? But Rav Nachman says, no, read the line on a deeper level. The reason we pray, Rav Nachman says, is because we are energetically depleted from our interaction with the world. And therefore, Tefillah le'el, when I go to pray to Hashem, then I get new chias, then I can reconnect that energy. Is that amazing? So Rav Nachman says that all spiritually sensitive people are empaths, and when we go out into the world, we become depleted, and therefore Rav Nachman has, you can see in the section of Das and Likutei Eitas, many tips of how to replenish the chias, the energy within you. And he says it's a mechanism of prayer. And what I'm going to show you is something you're supposed to be doing in prayer anyway. So the first agreement is, I'm going to teach it to you, and it's hard. It's not hard to do, but it's hard to get you to practice, so we're going to have a group. The second is I'm going to teach you a technique, give you a meditation experience for about half an hour, 40 minutes, till you can feel some of that chef and energy coming in, and you have a reference point of how easy it is to tune your mind into it and will it and draw it in. And the third thing we're going to do is I'm going to then teach you the technique. And the technique is so easy, it's a joke. And the technique is made of two parts. One is just how to energetically disconnect from somebody. And the second thing is how to energetically reconnect to your source. And you'll learn to do it so fast that now I can do it in about 2 seconds, looking like I'm teaching you and not doing anything. And I'm going to drag this sentence on a little bit just to see if I can do this. And I'm doing it right now. And therefore I'm now disconnected from you and reconnecting to you. And that I'm reconnected to the above. And it's an energetic shift. And it means I'm no longer being depleted by in this room, and I'm still totally present with you, right? But it's very transformative energetically once you give it a go. So we've made the first commitment. Now we're going to begin the second stage, and it goes like this. See some of your friends online. There's R.T. Schwabel. So Rivka, what's she go by?
Hi, Rivki.
There's the Rebbitzin over here. You can say hi, catch up.
Hi, Rivki.
Live from Israel. It's okay. So here we go. Hands up if you have been doing our Thursday night program, the last 2 sessions. Let me see who's been in there. Fine. Great. Give me a yes or something if you've been doing the Thursday night sessions, the Elevation weekly sessions. Or no if you have not. Let me just quickly see how many people know this. Another Schwabel in the house, Shalom Rebelli. So you're getting a hi back at you. So good, I'm getting some likes coming in there to people who have seen that, and some haven't, some haven't. Okay. And the Thursday night session, we've been introducing our Thursday night sessions by teaching something we learn in Elevation 2 and Elevation 3, something we call the Elevation Hachana. This is a meditation technique based on explicit techniques from the Baal Shem Tov, and it's brought down in the Sefer Charedim, chapter 65. And I'm going to teach this to you now in a super abridged version. It's basically a technique we use in the Elevation project to get people into the Vakus in a very fast way. And when you're in Vakus, Vakus is the sense of binding your consciousness with your divine soul, and binding your consciousness with your higher source, and being able to then get the supernatural wisdom and insight and clarity and energy and physical healing and emotional transformation from that. So a lot of Elevation 2 has many techniques brought down to do that. But one of the things we use is something called the Elevation Hachana. Hachana in the Hasidic text is always the idea of this: how you prepare your consciousness before you do a mitzvah, or how you prepare a consciousness before you pray. So I'm going to give you 4 steps now, which is part of the Hachana, and then we're going to do these steps together. And when you're in that state, the beginning of Dveikus, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to draw energy into you, chias into you, and how you can consciously increase that simply by willing it. And that's called being mamshich or or mamshich rachamim, to draw down light, to draw down compassion, to be mamshich shefa, to be mamshich chias, to be mamshich ratzon. He in the Shari Kedusha, he actually says to be mamshich devekas. Devekas is not just a technique, a state you enter, but you have to draw down the energy from that. So it's an idea that you can fix your mind in a certain way to draw in divine energy into you, which is the most healing and transformative and empowering and peaceful, creates deep well-being, but all these are new age terms which are so relatively low compared to the full value of that. I'm not teaching you now all the things you can do there and all the benefits of that. I just want to teach you how to be able to feel that sense of it dropping in and how simple it is. Simply by willing it in that state, it massively becomes very powerful. So what I'm going to tell you right now, I just want you with a pen and paper write this down. In elevation, we have 7 or 8 levels of the hachana, of the preparation. Right now, I just want to give you 4 very, very fast. The guys that have done it, I just want you to see if you can step into it faster, right? So it shouldn't be boring to hear it again. It should be review, and you see if you can faster and faster get into the state. So the first one, I just want you to write these down. You won't know what they are, and I'll teach you. What it says in the Sefer Charedim is first you have to be miyashev your das, yishuv a das, which means settle your consciousness and calm your consciousness. Take out the desires of the physical world of Olam Hazeh. The pools of the drawers of Olam Hazeh. Do you remember what the terms it uses there? Can't remember exactly. Fine. So first we have to quiet and still our mind. That's usually what's referred to as mindfulness, all those tools and techniques. Oh, here it is right now. Wonderful. And the Piaseczna has a wonderful technique. I'm going to use a very base level technique just to calm our minds. Then he says you have to do his kashrus. You have to connect with Hashem. I'm going to show a very simple, basic, low-level thing. This is low-level stuff just to get you into this experience as fast as possible. Right? That's his kashrus with Hashem. And the third thing, you have to awaken love and fear because you need positive emotion to connect to Dvekas. And I'm going to do that in the fastest, simplest way possible, even more simple than I teach you on Thursday. And then the final level you're supposed to do, what's the final level we do then? Is what we call the Shekhinah waterfall. He says you see yourself as sitting within this light of the Shekhinah, which is above your head, and you draw that light in. You imagine it coming down around you, that you're sitting. This is already 500-600 years ago. They're talking like this. The Baal Shem Tov says you cannot even begin to pray until you imagine yourself sitting within divine light. And we discussed already, you can see last Thursday's class, as we discussed in Elevation 3, this idea that, oh, this is just boring. This is just imagination work. It's not, I'm imagining light. I'm not having a spiritual experience. It's just imagination. And this Hasidic text and Kabbalistic text that you don't understand. This is one of the rules of prophecy, is that the soul is told what to tune into by what your imagination goes after. So you trigger actual higher level experience by controlling and guiding your imaginative faculty in that area. So what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that we're sitting within light and the Shem is flowing light into us. And when we're in that state of Yeshiva Dash, you'll see you'll begin to open up to the actual experience of that. Now, last Thursday night, we spoke to dead people and we did weird things with that. We connected to tzaddikim and other interesting stuff. But today, I just want to begin you to get into those 4 levels. And when we're in there, then I'm going to show you something called a Das Elyon, a technique of something called his kashrus. Once you're in that state, in about 10 minutes from now, what I'm going to show you is that by what you choose to focus on, you can draw that energy into you. Not just in theory, you're going to feel that happen on an experiential level. You felt that the other night? We did that, okay. So weird things happen. We're not going to do so weird as what we did on Thursday night. And I'm going to show you how to willfully choose to draw Hashem's energy into you. And therefore, you'll have that reference point. Because you need to have that reference point, because now I'm going to show, after that I'm going to show you that when you're talking to someone and they're feeling pain, you're feeling pain, you can instantly access that. Simply by choosing it. And that's what we're going to show you. But first we have to have this inner reference point to achieve that. Okay. So we will come back to that. The one thing I want you to write down on your page right now, if everyone can write this, I want you to write one moment in your life when you felt tremendous love from another person, towards another person. Not love in a relationship that then later blew up, and every time you think about that love, you feel, now he broke my heart and I'll never speak to him again, and I hate the world, and I feel resentful and bitter, and I'll be alone forever. Not that kind of love, right? But something which is a good, pure thing. second. And now after that, underneath that, I want you to write one moment in your life when you felt real holiness, real kedusha, real heiligkeit. When you felt something powerful, beautiful. Could be by the Western Wall, could be by Tzad, it could be visiting Sfat. It could be, some people say, on a drug experience. I don't know what drugs are. I don't know what experiences are. I'm religious. But it could be, something you had where you really felt at one with the cosmic reality. You really felt deeply, energetically, spiritually connected. Great. Has everyone got one of them? You got two? Fine. So what we're going to do, everyone, we're going to do 4 exercises now, which are very simple. Number 1 is, I'm going to tell you what it is. Don't bother writing this down. I'm going to talk you through it. It's going to be so simple. Number 1 is, we're going to do cycles of breathing and just counting to 5. We're going to inhale for 5. We're going to hold our breath for 5. We're going to exhale for 5. We're going to hold our breath for 5. We're going to inhale. We're going to do that over and over again. That's just a simple, boring technique to clear our minds. The second thing we're going to do, I'm going to talk you through it. We're just going to count up a ladder to 10. And at the top of the ladder is our soul and divine light. We're just going to count up to that, a very simple technique. And I'm going to talk you through it in real time, okay? And then number 4 is, we're going to do a technique, I'm just going to talk you through it, where you connect to that memory of love and you connect to that memory of holiness. And you just bounce back and forward between the two of them. I'm not telling you what we're doing to you. You're just going to see what happens. It's fun and it's nice, okay? And the 4th level, I'm going to talk to you about feeling that light around you until you can experience that a little. Once we're in that place, then I'm going to show you what his kashrus means, energetic connection through simple will. And we're going to use that as a reference point once we've got that, to then come back and I'll teach you the actual technique. Any questions before we begin? Yes?
Is it possible to have the same experience for both?
For both what?
Love and kedusha?
Of course, it is. And we'll experience that more as the same feeling as we do this exercise, yes. But I just want you to choose 2 separate things for now.
So I do a lot of yawning when that starts going on.
You do a lot of what?
Yawning, and I wonder if that's connected. I can really start feeling that.
At which point do you do yawning?
I don't quite know when it is, and I'm curious.
Okay, so you'll tell me at the end at which point it is.
I don't know.
Okay? Well, obviously, you start talking about it, we're all yawning right now. I just want to take a quick yawn. So it's obviously an emotional, physical response, right? Some protective mechanism. Feel if there's any emotional other elements around the yawning. Just explore it as we go into it. So it's similar to the kind of work you would do, what you would tell someone. So just feel what's in there. Do you actually fall asleep, or it's just the yawn? Okay. So I want you to feel just love and compassion towards the yawn. Don't say, oh, this is terrible, it's a block, whatever. Just go, oh, there it is. It's obviously a response to something, right? Just focus on that way. And notice if there's any other emotion happening in there around it at all. Okay? And I bet it'll work for you even with the yawning. That's totally fine.
You gotta stop saying yawning.
Stop saying yawning, okay? Fine. But she meant yawping, as in she's calling from the rooftops of the world. Did you hear yawning? Why would you hear that? Okay, fine. So here we go. Elisa says, I get yawning. It's like release. That's a good reframe. You're releasing things. There you go. Let's see what happens with that attitude. Okay, I want everyone to sit up in your chair. Make sure your phones are off if you have not already. Uncross your arms and your legs. Now, for the chevra, for our friends who have been doing this with us for a few weeks, you've done it online in elevation, and you know how to get to that state faster, so begin now. Get to that state faster, okay? I want you to commit in your mind. Good. Got that out of your system. Excellent. I want you to commit in your mind to whatever happens in the next 10 minutes. Does anyone have a watch with a second hand? Great. Whatever happens in the next minutes, I want you to keep your eyes closed. Even if you say it's not working for me, or I'm so blocked, this never happens. Whatever you do, keep your eyes closed. You'll be surprised at how far you get and how deep you get in the next few minutes anyway, okay? So I want you to close your eyes. Sit up straight in your chair. That means you want to be in an alert position. I want you to open up your hands if you can, so your palms are facing up in a receptive mode. And in that state, I want you just to allow yourself to relax. Just allow yourself to relax. Allow your shoulders to relax. Allow your neck to feel relaxed, to feel warm, loose, and relaxed. Warm and relaxed. whatever comes up is totally fine. If you say in your head, this stuff never works for me, I never get relaxed, I want you to know this is going to work for you even if you can't relax. So it's totally fine. Allow your shoulders to feel warm and relaxed, your arms to feel warm and relaxed, your back to feel warm and relaxed. Your back feels warm and relaxed, warm and loose and relaxed. Coming down to your stomach, your hips, your legs, everything's feeling warm and relaxed. Go down to your ankles and your feet, warm and relaxed, melting, warm and relaxed. Your feet are relaxed, your legs are relaxed. Hips, chest, back. Your lower back is relaxing, is warm and relaxed. Your shoulders are relaxed, your arms and hands are relaxed. If it's working, that's good. If it's not working, it's totally fine. It won't make a difference. We're about to begin breathing in a cycle of 5. I'm going to take full deep inhales, hold them, exhale fully, hold that. And each is, I'm just going to count 5 for each one. Make sure the breaths in are fully in, the breaths out are fully out. If your mind gets distracted, just keep visualizing the numbers as we do it. It's the easiest thing in the world. You ready? I want you to exhale all the air from your lungs now, all the way out, all the way out. And slowly, on the count of 5, inhale. Here we go. Begin to inhale now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. Slow, deep. 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Deep in. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale all the way out. 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And come back to normal breathing. Keep your eyes closed. Now I'm going to ask you to do something very simple. I'll say the instructions a few times. I'm going to simply ask you to count from 1 all the way up to 10. Not yet. And as you count from 1 up to 10, I'm going to ask you to count each number 3 times slowly and deeply before you go up to the next number. So you count the number 1 3 times slowly to yourself, and then you'll go up to number 2 and count that 3 times slowly. And also what I want you to do is imagine that you're climbing a ladder of 10 steps, and at the top is the light of Hashem, of Yud, Hey, and Vav, Hey, of infinite light, of infinite love, of infinite connection and freedom and release. And at the bottom of the ladder is where we are now in our body. So what I'm going to ask you to do is count each number 3 times, and then before you go up the next number, I want you to imagine just taking another step up the ladder. Just going one step higher, one step more released, one step more open, one step more connected. Just simple elevation. Don't bother trying to imagine God or trying to imagine anything spiritual. Just imagine before you go up the next number, just elevating a little higher, a little bit more open, a little bit more light. That's all. And then you go to the next number. We're going to count up the ladder, an ascending ladder to our soul, to our Shorish Neshama. As I've said before, most of you should ignore this. If you know about the Sfirot, if you know about what it means, Adam Elyon in the world of Atzilus, and rather than counting numbers, you'll count from Malchus all the way up to Keta. But for everybody else, counting numbers is wonderful and will be totally effective. Each number 3 times, and imagine elevating up a little bit more open and connected, another rung up the ladder, and then each number 3 times, all the way till you get to 10. If I'm still haven't gone to the next activity and you're already up to 10, just go up to 11 and 12 and keep climbing. Here we go. When your own time begins, slowly take your time. Begin at 1. Go for it. Moving higher and higher towards the lights, peace, openness, warmth, Yud Hey, Vav Hey. Allow yourself to fall back into that light feeling, that open feeling. Keep going. Whatever's happening is totally fine. The whole thing's going to work for you. You'll see. Keep going higher and higher. You are connected more and more. Wonderful. I want everyone to remember right now, first of all, just enjoy that place you're in, that openness. Allow that openness to be received by your open palms, to flow down into your being, to penetrate into your heart and your mind and your body. I want everyone to think right now of those 2 memories, one of intense feeling of love, of ahava, and the other the intense feeling of holiness, of kedusha, memory of kedusha. I want everyone to think, when we begin the activity now, the 4th level of the Hachana, the preparation, I want everyone to think for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 seconds just of the memory of love. I want you to think of any details you remember, where you were, what time of day, who was there, what the feeling was like. Engage your senses, your sight, your sound, touch, taste, smell. Really want you to remember all the details, watch it like a movie, rewind, what's your favorite part, and feel that love. And then after doing it for 7, 8, 9 seconds, I want you to jump over the feeling of holiness, of kedusha. I want you to see that memory, watch it like a movie, Increase the color, the intensity of it. See it, the details, the colors, the sounds. Feel the holiness. After 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds, I want you to jump back to the love. Go again on the love. After a few seconds, I want you to jump over to the holiness. I want you to go back over and over, back and forward. 1, then 2, then 1, then 2. Keep that up and allow those feelings to increase within you. Begin that now. Other moments connected with that love or that holiness come to you, see them, feel them, connect to them, and keep moving. Doing wonderful. Love, holiness. Allow and choose to feel them even more, each one even more. And as you keep going back and forward, I want you to be aware that the source of that love is the divine light of Hashem. The source of that love is the divine light of Hashem. The source of all love in the world. The source of that holiness is the divine light of Hashem. The source of all feelings of holiness in the world. That holiness has so much love, that love has so much holiness. Be aware of so many other holy moments of your life are all connected to that same light. All the other moments of love in your life are all connected to that same light. As you move back and forward between the two, feel and know the light which connects them both together. It is so much greater than even them. Follow that light up now. The source of love, the source of holiness. Follow it up to its source. Follow it back like a trail. Where's the source that it gets bigger and even more and bigger and even more? Imagine a massive ocean, a massive sun of that light above your head. The light of the Shekhinah. Hashem's infinite presence, of infinite love, of infinite holiness. I want you to see that above your head right now, and I want you to imagine it begins to shine down, radiate down all around you. I want you to imagine it. See the light, that you're sitting within it like it's a waterfall pouring down around you, a pool, a mayan coming down from Shemayim above you, all around you. I want you to visualize it and see it. If you have problems visualizing and imagining it, I want you to pretend you can imagine it. If you imagine that you can imagine it, what would it look like and feel like? I want you to see that coming down from above all around you. You feel it over your shoulders. I want you to feel it circling you, surrounding you, washing over you, round and round and round, an incredible light of energy, round you and round you. And you're sitting in the middle of that, and I want you to open up the palms of your hands now and receive that light. Receive that shefa, receive that chiyas. See it around you, tremendous love. I want you to realize that every molecule of your body right now is being created and generated consciously by Hashem. Consciously every moment. Not that you were created thousands of years ago or decades ago, but right now, every element, molecule of your being is being created by Hashem. and it's filled with that light, and it's filled with that will. He loves you, he adores you. He's giving you existence in your hands, in your head, in your heart, every molecule in your body. Just tilt your head back so you can be open to that and fall into that a little bit. I know he's pouring that light and love into you right now, and I want that light to not just go around you. On the count of 3, it's going to pierce into the top of your head, into your mind and heart. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Imagine it comes into your head, it washes away any negative, destructive thoughts and brings you clarity and peace and holy, beautiful thoughts, holy, beautiful images. And now it drops down to the level of your heart, pierces through, washes out any destructive, negative, self-defeating, self-sabotaging feelings. Imagine your heart is being filled with this epic holy love of holiness, of water, expanding, flooding your heart with beautiful, holy feelings of love, of connection, of openness, of Kedusha. Now it's coming down, amunas ha'avarim, into all your limbs, all your extremities, all your entire being is surrounded by light, the makif, and filled with light, the panimi. And I just want you to tilt your head back and fall into that. Whether you feel it a lot, whether you feel it a little, it doesn't matter. Hold that space and draw that in. Now with your eyes closed, just enjoy that. If it helps to remember that feeling of love, that memory of love, bring that memory of love in a little. If it helps to remember that memory of holiness, or any other memory of love or holiness, bring that in a little. See it and feel it. Not a little if you can feel that light and love a little bit, even. Not a little if you can feel that a little. Okay, just maintain that. Whether you can feel that a lot or a little, it doesn't matter. Now I want to teach you the power of ratzon, the power of will. I want you to choose right now simply to be able to feel that. I want you to choose right now is know that through choice alone, through simple will alone, as I'm going to teach you how to do it using something called Das Elyon, that you have the capacity and the openness that where you put your thoughts and choose to connect to, you can energetically bind with that thing and feel its energy come to you and influence it. So there's so much halacha, which is about binding with community during holy moments. Right now, to help us leverage more holiness, we are sitting together in a room full of holy people. And I want you to realize that these people around us, these Yidden around us, are full of tremendous souls and light. And we want to connect to their energy and give them energy and draw from their tremendous energy now. And this is how we're going to choose to do this. This is called his kashrus. We're just going to choose to connect to their energy. And we're going to know that we and trust that we instantly have become connected to the energy. We're going to choose it and believe it. I'm going to count to 3, and then I'm going to click my fingers. As I count to 3, I want you to choose to connect to them, and I want you to trust that you are. You're going to choose to connect to them and trust that you are. Yes, there's noises around us. It totally doesn't affect us at all. Choose to connect and trust instantly that you are, and allow yourself to be open to receive energy and influx that will definitely come to you. On the count of 3, choose and believe to be connected to everyone in the room. 1, 2, 3. I choose to be connected, and I am open to receive that energy. You may receive knowledge or insight or light, feeling of influx from that. Right now, go. Choose and believe that you are. Do it again. 1, 2, 3. If you feel light from that, open up your hands, tilt back your head to receive it. Not a little if you could feel an influx from that. So right now what I want you to do is I want you to realize right now there's 60, 70 people watching in real time online. And there's hundreds and maybe thousands that will watch it over the next few months and years. And we can connect into consciousness of people in the present, the future, no matter the space and time. So we're going to expand the energy influx, the group consciousness right now, by on the count of 3, choosing to connect and bonds with every person out there around the world who's connecting to us and doing this exercise with us in the present and in the future. And as we feel the influx, we're going to tilt back our heads more and open up our hands more and just receive it more. We may receive information or clarity or just a general energy influx. On the count of 3, choose to connect to everyone in the world who's a part of this and believe and know with 100% knowledge and faith that you are. Just trust that. Connect to everybody in the world, part of this right now. 1, 2, 3. Choose and believe it. If you want to connect to that more, on the count of 3, I want that feeling of connection between us to double or triple and massively increase. Just by knowing that it will and wanting it to, you will see it will absolutely happen. The light, the Dvakas, will come even stronger from all of us together. We're going to draw down light from Hashem and connect it to all of us and be connected to everyone. We're going to feel that influx immediately on the count of 3. We choose it and we believe it. 1, 2, 3. Not a little, if you could feel that a little. Okay, what I want you to do right now is to ask Hashem, just by choosing it, to increase the Dvakas that you're feeling, that Hashem should have Rahmanas, compassion on you right now, that we are small compared to His light and love, and He loves us so much, we would like to feel and connect even more. So you'd like to choose right now to connect to even Hashem even more and to feel at least double, if not more, of an increase of that light and Hashem's infinite love and compassion. On the count of 3, choose that He would do that, know that He wants to absolutely, and trust that He will immediately. Choose it and believe it. 1, 2, 3. We'll follow the advice of the Cana Rebbe, the great tzaddik. I want you to choose to bind with everything in the mineral world right now. The essence of what it means to be a Jew, to be a tzaddik, every one of us, is we're supposed to elevate the whole world. I want you to think of every stone in the world, every mineral in the world, full of water, of the inanimate physical world. And we're going to bind to its energy and connect to its energy on the count of 3. Choose and believe it. Go. Feel it. Feel its energy running through you. Feel what it feels like. Now we're going to connect and bind our consciousness with all of plant life, literally every tree in the world, every flower in the world, every blade of grass in the world. So Nachman said we're going to take its energy with us. Choose and believe it, you're bound to it. See it, imagine fields, imagine mountains, imagine all of it. Every flower, just choose to connect to it and believe that you are. 1, 2, 3. Imagine every animal, Perek Shir, we're supposed to bind our consciousness with the energy of every animal, all the lions, all the tigers, all the insects. Everything has a spark of divinity, a light within it. And we are the malakit, we are that gathers all that energy together, and we can feel the powers of all of it. Choose and believe that you are, and you are shaliach of Hashem to connect to it all, and bring light to all of it. And you're going to feel and connect on the count of 3. Every animal in the world. 1, 2, 3. Every person of the world next. Every being in the world, we are channels of light to all of them. We feel their energy and we bring the light of Hashem down into it and we draw them up to Hashem as well. On the count of 3, all the suffering, all the joy, all the blessing, all the wisdom, all the light of all human race. On the count of 3, I choose to connect to it. I trust that I am. I know that I am. 1, 2, 3. Now all of Am Yisrael, all of the Tzadikei Emes, the channels of light in this world, we want to draw from their wisdom, we want to draw from their Torah, we want to draw from their light. This is a great, great mitzvah. From the Torah itself, we're connected to the holiest, to the lights of the whole of the world, the Tzadikim. We're full of tremendous holiness. When we bind to them, we receive their light, we channel it down. On the count of 3, all the Tzadikim. 1, 2, 3. Now imagine all the malachim, all the angels, all the tzaddikim from all the generations, all of the spiritual world, all of the spheres, all of the higher worlds, all the way up to the Or Ein Sof, the infinite light. We're connecting and binding to it all. 1, 2, 3. Choose and believe it. And I want you right now to choose your favorite tzaddik, your favorite tzedekah from any time in history. It could be Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. It could be Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. It could be Rav Nachman. It could be the Baal Shem Tov, the Baal Tanya, the Rebbe. Whoever it is for you, choose your favorite tzaddik. Know that neshama is with you, that neshama loves you, that neshama is fighting for you and cares for you. And they can give you guidance. And they can pour energy into you when you're lacking it. They're a channel, it's Sino and Makava. They channel Hashem's light to you. You can call on them and ask them for help. I want you to choose to bind with a tzaddik right now. Choose them, feel them, remember their Torah, and then choose and believe that you are absolutely connected and you will feel their presence with you on the count of 3. Pick which tzaddik you want and choose to be connected to them. 1, 2, 3, go. There's something you like to ask that tzaddik. You can tell them if there's information you need to know, clarity you need. You can choose for them to give that to you right now. Just be open to hearing it, any insight, any wisdom. I want you to choose right now to connect to everyone in this room, to everyone a part of this in the present, to everyone watching this online. Power yourself even more, bring more light in by choosing to connect to that on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We're all connected. Go. And now leveraging that, focusing that up, Hashem, increase the light on the count of 3. I want you to double and triple the light for every single one of us. Choose that all of us should feel the influx together on the count of 3. Choose and believe that Hashem should double, triple, quadruple that light. We feel it running through our hearts. Tremendous love. He absolutely wants to. He absolutely can on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Increase. If there's something you want to say with all your heart to Hashem, any moment for any personal prayer, take a moment to do that now. Okay, when you're ready, not a moment before, you take 3 very deep breaths, come back to your body, wiggle your fingers and open your eyes in your own time. Okay, here we are again. Hands up if something interesting happened in there for you. Hands up high. Let's see those hands. Give me a like if something interesting happened in there for you. Hands up if something beautiful or powerful happened in there for you. Let's see hands right now. Okay? Give me a love if something beautiful or powerful happened to you. Now, there's a lot to discuss there. All those things I was doing go explicitly in Kabbalistic and Hasidic texts. I want to spend a couple minutes going around and people checking in on anything that happens. But there's one thing I want to focus on. Did you feel an influx of light or energy at any time there? Hands up high if you did. That's nearly everybody. Fine. Hands up high if when we asked for it to increase, at any time you felt an increase there. Excellent. Isn't it interesting that not only you can get it, you can increase it by just wanting it to increase. Next, hands up if you felt energetically connected to others in the room or others around the world? Hands up high. Yes, you did. Fantastic. Hands up if you felt strangely, weirdly, energetically connected to different objects in the world when we were able to do that. Hands up if you got insight or knowledge or senses of those things. Hands up if you got something like that. Fine. Hands up if you were able to connect to a tzaddik, either alive or dead, at that process. Excellent. Okay. Did anyone receive any messages from them when we asked you if you wanted to do that? Hands up high. Fine. So on Thursday night we went a little deeper into that and learned how to do that more. Fine. Hands up if you feel in a very positive, uplifted state right now, more energetically connected and aligned. Fine. That's most of the people. Fascinating. Now, I would like everybody to turn to the person next to them and share a few words about what you experienced in there. This is very important to do. One is to have the experience, and then two is to take it out of that intuitive thing and intellectualize it a little. Don't be afraid. It won't cause you to lose it, right? But I want you to frame it. I want you to find the words to describe it, right? Because what I just showed you is ideas called his colorless and his kashrus, his stackless and his kashrus, hakara and hagasha. If you want to understand the terms in depth, you have to do the elevation program. But what you saw is that you could choose to feel and resonate with things, choose to feel and resonate things which are not in front of you. You could receive energy from them. You can shift to other things and receive energy. What you put your attention on, you're able to do, not through intellectually thinking about it. I got you to do it faster than thinking. That uses your Das and your Das Elyon. I don't have time tonight to explain the technicalities, but I want you to feel the benefit. What I want you to do right now is to turn to people next to you. If you're online, I want everyone to share a little information in the box, right, about what happened to you, and talk a little about that experience of the energy, of the chiyus, right, what happened, of connecting. What were you able to connect to, stronger or weaker? What were you surprised or amazed you could do? I want you to talk that out, find your own words, your language, remember the experience and share that a little. You're going to interact with you all. I'm going to interact with the people online. I want you to take 2 or 3 minutes to do that right now. This is very important to do. Don't just sit there and talk about the weather, but I want you to find your words and your reference point. That's going to take it from experience into what's called your chetzonius of das, into the concept of yedias and information. Begin that, please, now. Okay, we're all together here. So I'd love to read what happened to you all when you did that. What was interesting, what was novel for you in that process. Josh fell asleep and just woke up. Well, good morning to you and welcome back. Sometimes people aren't used to this work. It takes a little getting used to. Rachel Cana says, I felt as if we moved up from rocks to Jews. I connected from the edge of arms to the inner soul core. That's pretty interesting. I paraphrase your words a little. Vase says, connected to the Arizal, my mouth spoke an answer to my question. My mouth spoke an answer to the question. What Baruch, that technique is explicitly in the Arizal's work called Shari Kedusha, that the tzaddik speaks through your mouth. Isn't that absolutely fascinating? We'll teach that at a later time, how to get a tzaddik to talk through your mouth and answer your questions. It's pretty extraordinary. Raphael says, Hillerman says, it was amazing for me how I was able to use the ability to connect that I already had and do it incredibly more than ever. Wonderful. All he said, as the light started getting strong, I started getting a headache. So then just choose to not get a headache. I know that sounds dumb, but try it. Janie says, I felt like we were all connected to a mutual water pipe and we had our own tap. That's wonderful. I missed someone in there. Cana said, I felt very connected to hearing my answer for why I'm not attracting what I want. Okay, safe and secure. Choose and believe. It was very powerful in this regard. Thank you. There's more there, but I'll have time to get to that another time. Who else has something to share? Keep finding the words. Describe your experience and all the nuance of your experience. Who else online has something to share? I know you're writing and there's a lot coming. Shana Batsheva, total detached from my body, looking down and touching many people. Rachel Chana says, felt as the light of God was drawing down. My heart blocks to be open. Rabbi Ari Katz says, as I breathed in the light and elevated, I felt light and saw flashing lights. Very interesting. Solar. Hello, Rebbetzin Solar. My heart started pounding like crazy and connecting to people. I'm sure your heart does that frequently, immediately when connected to the deacon. Unbelievable. Yudi. Difficult to share, not in person, but it was very powerful. Easier today than on Thursday. Good for you. Chazak. Gila Rachel. Could not get into it. Objects and metals and animals. It got darker. Everyone's going too fast. Hello, Ariel. Well, I missed you. It's going too fast. Moshe said, I think Lubavitch ever told me to go to Australia. Not necessarily. We'll talk about that. You don't necessarily have to believe everything you received. I felt it was on fire and cried a very relieving cry. Elisa's head kept getting distracted by imagery, a little frustrating. Don't be threatened by the imagery, Elisa. Just acknowledge and going, that's just imagery, that's all. Now I go back to my intent. Someone said, begged Hashem for clarity, but no answer. The secret is never beg. Do you hear me, whoever wrote that? Never beg. Das Elyon doesn't work with begging. Your lower self begs. Das Elyon, what you want to do to connect is just acknowledge that Hashem wants to give you the clarity, and it's right there. And it's the easiest thing. It doesn't take begging. Begging involves ego. Please, I need this. I don't have it. I'm miserable and sad and alone. Try it without begging, just choosing it joyfully and willing it. Venus says, a very powerful experience. I felt connected to higher levels, to others. Elisa says, thanks. Welks. Okay, so that's where we're up to. Okay, my friends. There's a lot of fascinating responses online. Hello, Josh. The Mastery Program will be launching online in a mega new format in probably December. Stand by. People interested in learning the whole systems behind this, you'll go to elevation.global and check out all the teachings there. People had a powerful experience, were able to access something. We would love to hear your voice, a little about what happened to you. Who would care to share a little? There's a great value in sharing. Yes, welcome back. You know the drill. You're welcome. Go for it.
So recently, I'm not going to get too much into the personal thing, but I've been in some kind of state of constriction the past few months.
Right.
So this exercise, I'm not ready to receive so much, but it's a movement for me to open up more to love and light. So so it was a movement,
That's
something
good.
I'm davening for.
Let's celebrate movements. Were you able to feel any influx to any of the elements you connected to? Maybe?
Yes, especially the tzaddik.
The tzaddik, wonderful. The
Specific
tzaddik
tzaddik.
has such power of consciousness that he can penetrate even through what's called a clippers, or bucks, as you know some of this terminology. So tzaddikim are, in all of prayer from Chazal and Kabbalah and Chassidus, the first thing you're supposed to do before praying is connect to a tzaddik and draw that energy in. And on Thursday night, people are having crazy experiences with that. People just describe that online. So I don't want questions right now, I just want reports. People had powerful, interesting experiences just to describe that, so we hear it from different personal experiences. Yes?
I had a hard time even talking with my neighbor about it, because you said, don't worry, you won't lose it. And I was like, no, I will. So I didn't want to say anything, but two things, if I can verbalize them. My tzaddik there were two in the room, and the tzaddik was Rav Kook.
Okay.
But my favorite person in Tanakh, and all of Tanakh, is Nachshon ben Ammidav, and he was there, sitting there.
Did he give 15 shekel when he came to the class? Or he just, okay.
He was watching the interaction between Rav Kook and I. Right. And so, do you know the picture of Rav Kook where it's a close-up of his face? It's the famous one.
Yes.
I have it in my room.
I have it in my study space. Yes.
You can see that basically his eyes change every time you look at the picture. Have you noticed this? Sometimes it looks like he's sad, and sometimes it looks like he's happy. Mm-hmm. And I often feel when I look at the picture, he looks however I feel.
It's called projection, but yes. But go on, yes. So
maybe he's an empath.
Right. For sure he was an empath, but that's the only proof of that, yes.
Anyway, so
what happened
so
then?
I was looking at him, and it was this picture basically that he was sitting in front of me.
Right.
And his eyes were smiling, and my eyes were smiling, and I asked him he has this poem.
Is it Bekitzu Shikana? I just want to hear the experience. Yes.
I asked him what did he do to get past, or is he still trying to get past the pain that he feels from not being able to further connect with Hashem? He talks about that. Was he able
to answer that question for you?
He didn't have to. He just kind of looked at me.
And that gave you some insight. Energetic transference. Wonderful. Anyone else get to share anything? Cana?
I connected very deeply to grass and trees and leaves.
Right. Did you feel there's an energy, a kind of something you could get from that?
Yeah.
Did anyone feel like from you felt the nature, the draw, there's something from that you can connect to? Yes.
But now I feel totally drained.
You feel drained?
Really exhausted and
Great.
really dehydrated.
Dehydrated. Well, that could be a lack of liquid, technically speaking.
But like I even felt it at a point.
Did you feel the light of Hashem in there?
Yeah.
Good. Put the drink out of your hand. Everyone close your eyes straight away. Go back into the position you're sitting. Open up your palms. On the count of 3, you're going to draw in the light of Hashem. It's very simple. 1, 2, 3. Just fall back into that and experience that. See, be in that waterfall of life. The screen is around you. It's swirling around you. Or you don't even need to do that. It's just flooding into you. Kind of keep your eyes closed. Can you feel that a little, kind of? Okay. So say, Hashem, I am drained without you, but you are the source of my energy. And just allow that to come down into your mind, to your heart, into your body, into your arms, hands. You feel that right now? You never have to be drained. You don't sit there and complain that your iPhone is drained. You simply walk to the plug and you plug it back in. You don't have therapy groups saying, my iPhone's not working, it used to work. It feels, after using for 12 hours, I'm not sure what's happening with my phone. You just plug it back in and the energy flows. When you plug it back in, there's always energy in the wall. It's always there. And it's much more powerful than anything you ever need. All it's waiting on is for you to plug back into it. Can you feel it right now? Good. Ask it to double. This is the trick. Ask it to double on the count of 3. At least double, if not more. You know why we can ask that? Is because Hashem has so much electricity. Now the secret is don't beg for it. Don't cry for it. That's ego. Hashem already wants to give it to you. There's nothing He wants more. When you plug your iPhone into the wall, you don't beg and cry, please electricity, please don't leave my iPhone depleted. It's just the most natural, effortless action. I know Hashem wants to fill me. I know Hashem loves me. Choose that to be more powerful on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. You feel an increase, little Cana there? That's beautiful. That's wonderful. See how effortless it is. Now on the count of 3, I want you to open your eyes. And here's the big secret. When you open your eyes, you don't have to stop doing that. You never have to stop doing that. It's all got to do with where your attention is, what you're connected to. You can listen to Doniel Katz talk his Hasidic meditational stuff, but still be drawing in that light from Hashem. On the count of 3, open your eyes and just look in front of you. Just try with your eyes open, staring at the table. But choose to keep that going. 1, 2, 3. Open your eyes. Choose a place in front of you on the table. Candles are very powerful, especially when you have intent of tzaddikim connected to the candle. And just choose now. Just because you're looking at something, it doesn't mean that you have to be emotionally connected to it. You can just see it's there. And now choose the light should remain, the chiyush, the energy should still channel into you, and choose it should in fact increase, despite the fact your eyes are open. In fact, it's going to get stronger on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Not a little. If you feel it still. Okay? So here's the trick. Turn to Doniel Katz and look at him. Now, as you're listening to Doniel Katz and everything he's saying to you, you don't even have to be energetically bound to me. Choose to be listening to me and present with me, but drawing from above. Doesn't stop. You see that? Raise your hands slowly. If you're listening to me and present with me, but you're still feeling that influx, raise your hand now. Show me you can do that. Great. My friends, the Kabbalists. We get hands raised over here. Great. See how when you laugh, you drop out of it a little. So I want you to keep doing that right now. Now what's going to happen is you're going to go back to your default setting in a second, right? So I want you to I'm going to keep reminding you right now of what to do. If you guys can listen to this video, but still feel the energy, I want you to hit the love button right now. There must be a lot of love pouring through you. Cana, do you feel you have a bit more energy now?
Yeah, so much.
So much energy. The difference between being depleted and being energized is simply a mechanism of Dvakas, which is a simple mechanism of will. That's pretty interesting. And now I'm going to teach you the secret for empaths. Are you ready? When you're dealing with someone, you're going to be connected to them. A, because it's an automatic response. You're conditioned to do that with everybody all the time. That's what makes you an empath. And I want you to know that's not what gives you your gifts. It's just a negative outcome of the gifts. So before you go into really investing and helping someone, the first thing I want you to learn to do is you can study the elevation Hakana, what we just did in 4 steps, which has really got 8 steps, and you learn how to just ground yourself and bring that light in a very strong way. The more you do it, you don't even have to do that. And now I'm going to teach you the technique that a tzaddik taught me. When I'm in front of someone talking to them right now, I'm doing it in the class with you in real time. The first thing you need to do is energetically disconnect from them. Because the more they're talking to you and the more emotionally turbulent they are, the more you feel that to help them, you have to fall into their world. And the more you fall into the world, you're already disconnected from that and connected to that. It's amazing that the Baal Shem Tov teaches that after, the Baal Shem Tov has a few Torahs where he says, you know these Torahs, that it's amazing that a Jew survives after praying because of depletion. Because the Baal Shem Tov taught that the essence of prayer is you pour your consciousness into the letters themselves until you give the letters light. And when you do that for an extended amount of time, it depletes you. So he talks about, as Rav Nachman talks about, things to regroup yourself, re-energize after that experience. When you are focused on a person at the beginning, you're pouring your attention on them. What you're giving your attention to, you're A, are pouring your energy into, and B, you're also connecting to them, so drawing in their energy, and that's a train wreck. So what you have to do is be present with someone. That means you're sitting in the room and you're listening to them, and you're going to do a 2-fold mechanism. You ready? You're going to energetically constantly disconnect from them, and I'll tell you how to do that. And you're going to, that's the sur meva, the remove the negative, and then you're going to asay tav, reconnect to that light within you. How do you disconnect to them? This is the funny part that Tzaddik taught me. You visualize that they're not actually in the room in front of you. So what I'm doing with you all right now, I'm seeing the empty seats that you're sitting in. Even though technically I'm looking at you, right? The koich hadimyon, just like you could be looking at anyone in the world and fantasizing negative or getting revenge or desire about them, you could also visualize in real time, even though you're staring at someone in the chair, you can actually imagine that they're not in the chair. Now this is what you guys can try this at home if you're with a partner. I want you to stand up for a second. And I want you to choose somebody in the room opposite you. Basically, look at that person for a second, choose that person. I want that person to now move out of the way of the chair in front of you. Just move out of the way. Take a step to your left, your right, or stand behind your chair. Now what I want everyone to do right now is look at the chair they were sitting in. And look at the chair they're sitting in. I want you to get a clear picture in your mind of that chair. And I want you to look at the wall behind them. It's like a Photoshop trick. As if you're going to just basically erase them from the picture. So you need to know what's in the chair behind that. What's on the wall behind it. Look at the details. What color is it? What's the material? What would it feel like if I touched it? How far is the top of the chair from the wall? Great. I want you to sit back down in your chairs right now. I want you to stare at the person in front of you, and I want you to totally erase them with your mind. I want you to see the chair, and I want you to see the wall behind them. They are no longer there. At first, it's a very weird thing to do. I want you to imagine, not only are they not there now, they were never there. They don't exist. If you know this person, you've been to their house, imagine their house being erased. I imagine their house being completely empty, like up for sale. Like they never existed. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. If you went to seminary with them and you saw them in seminary, if you've seen them in a place, imagine that chair was empty where they used to sit. Completely visualize their non-existence. Therefore, you're erasing your capacity to connect to them because there's nothing to energetically connect to. Now, let me tell you something as you're doing this. You may say, I can't fully visualize it. You don't need to fully visualize it. Imagine that you could. Hands up if you can do this a little right now. Hands up. Right. If you can do this a little, I want you to tell you right now, it's totally enough. Shana Batsheva said, you just erased me. I am emotionally wounded from that. How dare you? So the first thing you do is erase them, and I want you to know you can do that to a whole room of people at once. Here I am in my living room when you're not really here, and I'm technically looking at you because I've shifted my attention. The Das, as the Sfarim will teach you, the Das is separate from the sensory input. So I'm aware that I'm receiving information, but I'm actually seeing those chairs. I know what those chairs feel like. I know that I'm sitting alone in my house and the candles are here. I used to, in shuls, like many people discuss, that people pray long with their eyes closed because they want to impress other people in the room. And then people say, really? I want to do that. But an incredible amount of people do this, right? So what I now do every time I'm davening is I just immediately imagine I'm totally alone in the room and I actually see the room empty. And if it helps you, go into the room when it's empty and see the shul empty and then begin to pray. Now this creates another effect. I don't have time to discuss this, but Nachman discusses this in depth. When you have a desire of ego that people, you want to impress people, and then you imagine them they're not like that, and then you go into Dveikus, you do more than erase them, disconnect, reconnect. What you do is you take the desire of ego and you strip it off and you elevate it. What happens is you get a rush of high, of Kedusha at that moment. That's called Halat Amidas. I don't have time to describe that right now. What it does is it increases your capacity for Ruach HaKodesh at that moment. So listen very carefully. When you're sitting across from somebody, if you're going into an intense meeting, or your counselor or your therapist, the first thing you have to do is get yourself into Dveikus and feel that chiyas and will it in. Therefore, it's still fresh in your body, it's still fresh in your being. Of course, Baal Shem Tov says when you go to teach a class, when you go to do anything, don't do it without Dveikus, don't do it without that energy. Be plugged in, and you'll be bigger and better than you are, because something greater will be channeled through you, right? And then you step into the meeting, then you do that therapy session with that person, then you guide that person, then you help that person with their life's problems, right? But even if you didn't do that, what you simply do, right, is that you're sitting there listening to them with an open heart, and they're talking to you, and then there's 3 elements necessary to make this technique work. And the hardest one is for sure the first one. The first one is the awareness that you're now bound with this person. Because what you'll probably do, the reason we need this Chabur online to follow up and discuss this, is probably after the hour meeting with that person, you go, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I forgot to do the exercise. Because as an empath, the second you work with a person, you automatically fall into them, zoom into them. So the first and hardest thing to do is to have the awareness mid-session to disconnect. Now, if you need, I found I didn't need it because just becoming aware of the whole thing when I was taught it, I was just instantly, wow, I didn't want to use it and use it again and again, right? But some people I say, have a stopwatch that goes off. I have something that buzzes in your pocket, or, every 15 minutes, put something, a siman cheku in front of you, so to speak, something weird on the table in front of you to remind you every time you look down, right? And then you look up at that person, you can be completely talking, that they're pouring out their heart about the biggest problem in their life. You instantly erase them. They are not in the chair. If you've been to their house, if you know what they look like, you instantly just imagine it's not there. Their number is not on my phone, but it's not there. You see it until it's gone. What you are doing is disconnecting your hiskashrus. There's nothing to see. There's no histaklis, there's no hiskashrus. That's one. And then you instantly reconnect above. Hashem, I want that light from you. Right? I just want to instantly bring that in. No questions yet. Wait 1 second. You're all gone. That's only one. And then I choose and will that comes down and in. Now what you will find is when you do that, that gets very strong. There's other reasons I can't explain according to Chassidus and Kabbalah, but it becomes more strong than usual. Number 1, do you hear the 3 steps? I'll say them again. I'm going to add 4 steps. The first step is always to do the hachana, the devekas, before you go in. But I want you to know this works fine without it, as long as you can will in that energy. The 3 steps which I want you to consider is to become aware of what you're doing as you're doing it. Look, I'm bound. Look, I'm totally in that person's world. I'm totally in your sadness. I'm totally in your pain. I'm totally in your anger. I'm totally in your, right? Number 1, just become aware. Number 2 is vanish them, erase them, Photoshop them out of reality. Number 3 is, now that that is gone, I'm not energetically connected. Now your das is saying I have to be connected to something at any moment. I have to be drawing. Then choose to say that. And if it helps you, you can imagine just a light coming in from above and drawing that in. 1 is become aware. So you're absorbing that person, become aware. Oh, look what I'm doing. 2 is erase. With no negative intent to the erasing. I'm deliberately not, God forbid, trying to erase them out of the reality. No negative intent. Right? And then 3, reconnect to my source. And if it helps, some people imagine the name of God, if they know a Sphira or Malchus or Keter, or just see light come into you and reconnect. I'm adding another level for those that it helps. I'm afraid to add this level because I don't want to get too technical with you, but just something else to try if you want to play this class back. What you will find, whether you consider yourself an empath or not, is whenever you're deeply connected to someone as a mashpia, and I apologize for saying this out loud, I don't want to offend you, is you're also to some degree, in some way, probably ego connected to them as well. You want to save them, you want to heal them, you want the meditation, you just taught them to blow their minds, you want their feedback and energy. If you want or need their feedback and energy, that is some ego investment in that moment. Amazing thing you can do is, as you become aware of what's happening, A, erase them, B, reconnect. Another thing you may find is, wow, I want their love and validation. So when you erase them, when you turn up to the light to Hashem, you say, Hashem, you say this without thinking, let me feel validated and loved by you. And that does an amazing tick on the heart at that moment. So when you're disconnecting from that, what's overly emphasizing that connection is there's something you're trying to get from that person. And all of the root of all of Tikkun Amidas is to realize even therapy will never fully heal you, never complete you. Whereas the therapy, even good therapies, even good coaching, no matter what it is, until the person, the only true Tikkun in this world is all the desires of your heart, you learn to draw that light from Hashem. Because even if a person is healed and not broken, they will still seek to fulfill their needs from this world. And the only ultimate alternative to that, even in relatively healthy ways, even non-dysfunctional people are just living as normal human beings, which we're never supposed to be. We're supposed to be malachim, we're supposed to be angels. Is when any desire of the heart I become aware of and learn to rechannel that. Now in Elevation 4, we learn how to do that in depth. Right now, I just want you to know it's there. So the number 1 is always 4th and a hidden 5th, right? So the ideal way is every morning when you get up, you should do that for sure for 20 minutes. And before you go into any emotionally intense environment, especially as an empath, you recharge. When you're going out for a busy day in the field, you always charge your phone well the night before for sure, right? So you recharge, especially for that meeting. So that's 1. But even if you haven't, the things I want you to remember is, first you have to be able to catch yourself in real time. I'm talking to you, I'm connected. And this is not just about therapy. When you're talking to your mother or father on your phone, when you're talking to your children, anything you're doing, you're going to be emotionally invested in, and you're not your best self. Realize it. Number 2, erase them. Number 3, reconnect to your source. Number 4, what's number 4? Realize that there's probably something you wanted or needed from that person. I'm not going into right now, but you should know the Belgium Torah even says mafarish, even sexual desire, even anything like that. Any desire, even the pleasure of food. People have dietary issues, they binge, whatever. It's because they're seeking pleasure to cover over pain. And if a person says, I want to feel satiated and pleasure from divine light, you can learn how to get that, and it's even more powerful and satiating. Samalachun nafshi. My neshama is really thirsty for you. My neshama is really hungry for you. And I learn that to learn satiated. Questions right now on the technique? Yes?
I found it hard to make the person vanish when I'm making eye contact. I'm wondering if you don't
Okay, this is called his lambdas. We talk about this all the time in Elevation 1, his lambdas. But I find it hard to make the person vanish when I'm making eye contact. What could the advice be? Don't look at their eyes. Great. Well, stop for a second. It's just for seconds, just an exercise. First of all, I can do it by looking to their eyes, number one. Not that I'm better than you. That means it's possible. Number two is at the beginning when you're training yourself. Great. So maybe I'll try just for the sake of going, how can I do this with people? When I'm tuning into Ruach HaKodesh or trying to tune to deeper level and someone's talking to me, I'll go, I did that without doing that. It's just because I know that the eyes, there's a reason when you look into your eyes are the windows of the neshama. The eyes are what binds you to another neshama. So break the eye contact for sure. Energetically, when man and women are together, when you want to be sneers, right? And you break eye contact, you don't always hold eye contact, and that's an important part of the process because then it breaks the energetic connection, right? So this is his lambdas. They're the kind of questions. My answer to you is explore, play. When does it work for you? When does it not work for you? How can you, right? That's why I want to have an online discussion. We can bring this up. I want you to experiment with this. Don't be afraid to play. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to try to find a way that the technique works for you and helps you. Questions? What is your name, by the way? Yes. Ariella? Ariella, yes. Question, yes. You're disturbed by what I'm saying? Okay.
When you were describing the meditation, I felt very connected to what you were saying.
Right.
Because I did experience this myself once in my life.
Okay.
12 years ago.
Once in the life, 12 years of experience, right? This. So what's disturbing?
It resonated. But what you're saying now does resonate with me. I tell you what, because I personally very strongly feel that when we pray for a person, for example,
Yes.
so we connect to the name of the person, to the essence of
Yes.
the person, and I myself visualize the person.
Yes.
And I really feel that by doing this, I help healing.
Yes, that's true.
So
It's only true in one condition, though. Can you heal a person? Can you heal a person?
Hashem can heal the person.
Hashem heals a person.
I feel that we can be a channel.
Big to you. Here we go. So listen very carefully. I'm going to explain this to you now. Ariel says something very, very nice, important. Ariel feels that when she visualizes a person, when she uses their name, she can connect to them, she can heal them. So I said, well, Ariel, not exactly. So that I know you mean that. So I'm just using the words. So Ariel can't heal them, and Ariel knows that. Hashem can heal them, but Ariel can be a channel, a makava, and a sinner, and therefore, if you want to be a channel, you have to remain connected to that. The challenge of being an empath is you become so resonant with that it can potentially disconnect you.
I hear it when you say that, and it certainly helps to protect oneself, for sure.
Right.
But then,
How do you help that person? I am teaching you. I'm going to explain one thing.
protect myself, and there, like in empty, whatever.
Good.
I hear her, she's talking to me, whatever, but she's not there.
So I'm going to say something a little hashkafically deep, and I want to avoid as much technicality as possible of the teachings from the Kabbalistic sources, because that's a whole limud, and you have to know some of the words and the information. I don't mean to be condescending. I'm just trying to keep this focus on the practical. My first and global rule is if it does not resonate with you what I'm saying, do not use it. I empower you to choose not to use it, okay? So that's number one. If you're interested in exploring and trying it out, so that's an interesting discussion. But I want to tell you a secret. There's two forms of self. One is called the Das Tachton, and one is called the Das Elyon. Now, when I asked you to connect to God, and I asked you to increase the connection to God, I said, I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3, go. Why didn't I tell you to imagine God, to think about God, to visualize God? If I want to increase the connection, we could have visualized the plants, the trees, the wildlife. Here's a lion, and here's his claws, and here's the color of his fur, right? I did something which theoretically goes against what you just said. I told you to do it so fast that you don't actually think about it. And what happens? You got an incredible, like most people get an incredible rush of connection. Higher, you can think about something forever and not feel connected to it. Most people are thinking about things all the time and not connected to it. Because they're caught in their lower self. The secret of connection, and this is what I want you to play with. Connection does not come through the lower self. It comes through the higher self. And the higher self is higher than time. I want you to play with something. That when you do this, that person's they're pulling out the heart and you're connected to them, and suddenly you find yourself over-connected to them, and you pull yourself back and you erase them. Even when they're talking, you connect to your above. I bet you get suddenly more insight about them. I bet you have more knowledge at that moment about them. Because what you're doing is disconnecting from them only with your lower self. But your ratzon of being there and helping them is now being plugged into your higher self, right? So I'll give you a classic example. This is in Kabbalah and Hasidus, but this is even in modern science today, modern psychology. Any entrepreneur, any scientist who ever had a brilliant insight or a new idea, they all describe the same phenomena of the light bulb above their head. What is the mechanism they describe it? How do you get a new insight? How do you get Ruach HaKodesh? They describe it as the following way. In Elevation 5 or 6 somewhere we teach this. We play around with in Elevation 3. Everyone knows the same thing. I used to be a script writer, I know it. When I write Torah classes, I get incredible insights, but it's always the same model. What does it involve? When do you get a breakthrough new idea how to do something? You're writing, you're engaged, you're talking, it's coming to you, and it pops into your head, right? The answer is no. You write and engage, and then you go have a shower, and then you go play golf, and then you go pray, and you totally disconnect, boom, that's when you get struck by lightning. So the first level is heated passion, hislahavas, connection, and then it's completely disconnected, and that's when the lightning strikes. And scientists, everyone from Einstein across the board, all the entrepreneurs, Steve Jobs, they all describe the same phenomena. Therefore, the secret is, of course I'm engaged, but what do I mean? Why is Doniel Katz saying disconnect? Right? I shouldn't be caring from that person's pouring their heart out. The answer is, I'm telling you how to connect with a higher place. And ironically, to connect with a higher place, you sometimes have to disconnect with a lower place. And what I found is, my entire awesome thing that Doniel Katz does to help people is so built on I'm going to pour into you and connect. And I found when I destroyed that, suddenly I was just effortlessly sitting there going, this is the answer, and I know how to present it to that person, and it was like effortless and more powerful and more beautiful. And it was just like, it was just a clear and clean. I walked out with more energy than when I went in. I bet you guys could replicate that. Do you hear what I'm saying a little? It's worth playing. I don't want you to believe it. I don't want you to do it. I want you to play with it. And let's see what we learn from it. Let's try it and see. You may try and it doesn't work, and maybe we have to refine it. No, so I know. So that's exactly how I don't want you to phrase it. Number one, it is going to protect yourself. I bet when you protect yourself and on that level, you get increased energy to contribute and care. Because as an empath, your goal is not protection. Your goal is a responsibility to use your gifts to help the world and help people. But you have to do that efficiently and responsibly with a way that has a kiyum, so that you can sustain that and you can increase that. I want you to protect, sustain, and increase. But first we have to understand what is undermining our skill set, and then we can sustain and increase it. So I want you to play with that. I want you to play with that. Yes, Rivka Malka.
So I remember I was sitting in a car and
Could I ask you just to stand up and speak louder so we can all hear you? Yes.
Sorry, hanging out here. I was sitting in a car and someone was so negative people.
Yes.
A negative, needy person who I care about a lot, but where she was in that whole many months was just awful and impossible to be with. So she was sitting in the seat over here and I'm driving and I'm feeling like I can't even make conversation because I just can't even engage with this energy and I don't even know what to do with my own space. So I start creating these energetic walls and these boundaries, and I'm noticing that it's taking so much effort to put up this boundary that it's making me even more tongue-tied. there is no flow anywhere, and a car ride can be very long. So instead, I started to visualize Hashem's light sitting in that seat, which makes me feel like that's kind of what you were saying. Like, I didn't think of I'm erasing her, but if she wasn't there, Hashem's light was in that seat. And what that did for me was, it did protect me, but ultimately it helped me to connect with her higher self, because her lower self was a train wreck, but her higher self, I can deal over there. So I'm wondering if that is a little piece that we can add on when you come back to, because it does sound a lot like protection and recharge and myself, and here's my space, but this other person, how do you, a point of re-engagement is re-engaging with the higher self.
Right, so that's absolutely what you're looking to do. And how do you engage with the higher self? If I was sitting next to you in the car, I would have said, Rivka Malka, she has a higher self, and you would have get, thanks Daniel, thanks very much for that big insight. Well, God will adore to tell me that insight. So what I need you to do is what we're showing you is you find another person's higher self, as the Baba Tanya says in 32 of the Tanya, by accessing your higher self from your inner deeper perception. When you look with those eyes, of course you see her higher self. Why can't you see it when she's annoying the heck out of you? Because you're caught in your lower self of frustration, of exhaustion, depletion. Right, so that's the principle. So the principle, now when I heard what you say, I'm like, oh, that's a great exercise. Let's try not erasing people, but let's try surrounding them with light, whatever. I'm a little cautious because the less bound and blended you are with that person, the more easy, more subtle the move could be.
I actually think I think the word erasing is it's very jarring, especially to nice people. There might be another word, but there does need to be a removal of their physical power, themselves as an energetic force.
So what I'm doing is I'm erasing the visual to connect to. You're not erasing the person, right? Because what I'm saying is you're about to help that person. You're erasing, when you look at something, you connect to its energy. So I'm raising the vision of it.
I'm just going to ask you, isn't there a nicer word?
Yes, so you know what? This is the first time I've taught this, and we can all brainstorm together. But right now, what I want to ask you to do is more important. That's right, part of the educational developmental process is you refine your words, and you give it over 6 steps, and so that we're all experimenting together. What I want you to do is try it, right? What I'm trying to do is get you to erase that which you're connected to until it doesn't exist at all, until it's not there at all. And what I found is, I'll tell you a secret. Anytime you're trying to help someone, you're not trying to help anyone. You're trying to help your projection onto that person. You're erasing the projection of it. And then you look at that person and they're totally there more than they ever were before. In the 5th draft of this class, right? So are we going to use the erase? I don't care. I'm not ego invested in the word erase. No, this class is about erasing. I won't teach it to anyone, right? But what I want you to do is I want you to play around with that. And I want you to know you're not erasing that person. You're erasing your projection, your emotional identification and bond with that person. And then suddenly what I find is, oh, there's the person. There's the actual soul with the divine knowledge or whatever. What happens if you then project divine light onto them? That's also another technique that's wonderful. So first I'm going to ask you all to play around with the first technique of erasing. Then I want you to come back and go, it didn't work, and it worked with the light. Some people may find it only works with the light. They need to erase the word erase because they're triggered by the word erase. So anything is possible, but what's most interesting is let's practice and let's discuss and report and let's refine together. If you have questions right now, Artie Schwabel's very excited by erase your projection of them. Right. A couple of extra questions. Cana, yes?
I think just, for me, rather than trying to erase the other person, I can take it onto myself. I'm erasing myself, my lower self, so that I can see the higher person in front of me, the higher perspective in front of me, turning it inward.
I want you to try that, but I want you to realize that the most powerful techniques are when you keep it the most basic as possible. So what I'm asking you to do is actually erase a physical thing in front of you rather than the highly conceptual thing of erasing my lower self. Now I want you to see, it doesn't mean it won't work for you.
Not my lower self, I'm more mean my ego, the
ego
that's trying to think about everything.
So you're welcome to try it. I'm excited to see what you try with that. But what I want to challenge you with is when you try it, is I want you to find the lowest, easiest thing to do, right? What worked for me is it's such a practical technique. I did it in a second, and suddenly I was like just bliss and connected and more insightful and more on and more energized, because it was a simple, just see the chair. Basically what I'm doing is I'm just staring at the chair. I'm staring through a person to the chair. Right? What about me? What do you mean my chair's nice, right? So that's exactly the point. It's exactly the point. It's a nice chair. So it's not even this big thing about raising. It's just like, okay, the chair's there, I'm seeing the chair, I'm seeing the people behind them. And that, it's such a practical thing. It's not raising my ego. If you can find a way to raise your ego in a way that's reliable and easy, that's awesome. Report it, let us know. Let's see what else we have to say. Yes?
What if the person's not physically in front of you? Like you're on the phone or you're...
That's exactly the point. That person's always physically in front of you. When you're talking onto the phone, you have an image of the energy. Right? Raise the phone in your hands. Take your image and see them as not there. See their house is empty. Play with it. Play with it. Raise their voice. Yes, Adessa.
Just one of the phrases that keeps coming to mind in the erasing is detached with love. And one of the things I noticed actually when doing the meditation is that both the events of love and holiness were the same for me. And I kept, and the events were also situations where I was able to let go of a resentment. And the way I was able to do that was being able to separate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the...
It's a mechanism of separation, a mechanism of letting go. I'm giving you a hook that's very easy to achieve that. Okay? Now the rule is, whether you resonate or not, my rule in Avodas Hashem is first try to do it as it's taught, study the results, and then tweak it. That's a good technique. Unless you find it just like disgusting and oppressive, then stay away from it at all costs, okay? But the rule is first try anything that's taught to you, any technique, first try it as it's taught, see the positive and negatives of it, repeat the test a few times. Then when you feel you got what was taught, then say, how would you switch it up? How would it be better for you? What else would you do with it? What do you like? You don't like the words, you can do it better. And let's report, let's learn together, let's study that. Question, Elliot.
Is that because the disconnect, is that because you're not feeling that higher connection? And then once you're actually in it and you feel it and you just sense it, then are you still looking at people as if they're not there?
No.
At that point, it's just a hook to get you.
You're supposed to look at people. It's just a hook. It's a hook to really see them. It's a hook to see them. What you're ultimately supposed to do as a yid in this world, of all mitzvahs is about, I am a child for Hashem, I see the world and connect to it, and I draw Hashem's energy into that and transform it with my consciousness. Literally every halacha and mitzvah is about that. But it only works on one condition. What's the one condition? That I remain constantly connected to Hashem. But as an empath, what I do is I get so bound and bonded to someone's energetic thing that I'm connected to them, that's heresy, more than I'm connected to Hashem. So what we're just doing is re-engaging the connection to then look twice, to now look a second time with true eyes. The benefit of that is when it's exactly the setup, the trick to how any inspiration or breakthrough or divine comes. When I'm emotionally engaged and needed engaged, and then I disconnect and reconnect, and then I look a second time, boom, then the download of the information drops in. Because that's a Ruach HaKodesh, simple, basic, straight-up technique, 101. Okay, I had another exercise to practice it, but I think we're done. Is there a volunteer online who someone could set up a private group that we could invite everybody into? So somebody who really knows how to do this online right now, you can set up the Elevation Empath Research Group, or whatever that is. You can give me a yes, and you can invite us all in, and we can all experiment. Hands up if you're interested to try and experiment with this and report back to the group. Hands up if you've bought in so far. Not you. We didn't have the question, so you're staring at my chair. Wow, Doniel Katz just left mid-class. He didn't even come back. He didn't even finish the class. I'm taking my 15 shekel back. The guy just checked out. You're like, I didn't connect to God, but just like all the chairs are up there wherever I go. It's like.
Stop! I just get this rush of energy. I'm like, what's happening?
Good. Okay. So I want you to try something right now. You ready? First of all, I want you to close your eyes and instantly reconnect to Hashem and choose for that to become strong. Let's try one more thing before we go. Try to do it straight away. Reconnect, make it stronger, increase the light in the Rachamim. Do it right now. Keep your eyes closed. Hands up when you've got it. Okay, most people. Great. I want you all to turn and open your eyes and look at me. And I'm saying something very profound and very interesting. And it's just like extraordinarily deep and insightful about your lives, etc. And as I'm doing right now, I want you to raise me from the chair. I will not take it personally. My chair is getting very Kabbalistic from this, but I myself am doing fine. I want you to raise me from the chair. God forbid you're not raising my existence. There's no negative intent meant there. You just really, it's honor to the chair. I want you to see it right now as doing that. And when the second you've done that, just see a light come down and into you. And now, channel that light back to me. Thanks. But it's a light that we're sharing together now. God forbid you're never raising the person. God forbid. You're just shifting your focus for a moment. Now hands up if you're back with me, but you can feel the light with you. Okay, so that's the beginning of the exercise. It's the beginning of the exercise. Now, you can do me a favor. You ready? I want you to increase the light towards me. It's really interesting from my perspective. Just increase the light towards me. Now, as I'm talking, do it again. Just do the mechanism again. It's a wall behind me. See, what you're also doing is taking conscious control of your energy at that moment. Your energy does not have to be bound. If I say, you guys are the most beautiful, wonderful, deep souls I've ever had in a room, you guys are, oh, thank you. At that moment, you need me to fill you. But at that moment, you just turn to Hashem and ask Hashem to fill that. Do that right now. Anything you're looking to me to fulfill, now just turn, see this chair, see it from Hashem. Stir it in. Now it's for a specific emotional need. Whatever healing you wanted to get for tonight, whatever you wanted to be saved from. It's not Doniel Katz, it's just a chair. But now Hashem can do that. Go, draw that in right now. As if you can feel that. As if it feels a little healing. You can feel it hits the kind of the nail on the head. Okay, that's very interesting, huh? Okay. Watch online for a group. I want you to practice it each day. I'm going to ask everybody to report back once a day things you've observed from this. Hands up if you'll commit right now, reporting back once a day things you've observed. That committing to report will commit you to be aware of it. Give me a love online, a love heart, if you're committing once a day to reporting some of your activity. That means it went great because of this, it didn't work because of this. Right now, you're committing to do it. Janine says, I'm seeing a silhouette of the light. Oh, I missed the end of Janine's word. So great. Do it again. You ready? And if you want, you can channel even more light in. But that light's coming from Hashem. It's not coming from you. You don't get depleted. You only get depleted when you think it's your light. But when you channel from Hashem, you get energized because you're giving to that person and you're getting the benefit of the light coming through you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So we continue.